And this morning we're speaking to Ben Horne from the Herald Sun. Good morning, Ben.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Obviously, you're the cricket reporter. It's a massive winter of cricket this year. We've got the Cricket World Cup coming up at the end of the month. Then it rolls straight into the Ashes. What do you expect to see from the Australians?
I don't think anyone knows quite what to expect because a lot of it's going to be just out of their control and, what's the reception they're going to get from the English fans when they arrive in England? How will they respond to the pressure and the scrutiny that's on them with David Warner and Steve Smith back in the team for the first time? So there's a lot of unanswered questions, a lot of unknowns. But in terms of their recent form line, they've actually put together a pretty good side for the World Cup. They are perennial champions in the World Cup. So, look, out of the two events coming up, the World Cup and the Ashes, I think the World Cup's where their best chances lie.
I actually listened into Kevin Peterson chatting the other day about Warner. Peterson basically came straight out and said he has never seen Warner hit the ball so clean. And for someone that has hit the ball quite well over a number of years, that's quite a big statement.
Kevin Peterson's not the only person saying that. I mean, David Warner does appear to be a man on a mission at the moment. He's spent 12 months outside of top competition, but he's got himself to peak fitness. I mean, he was a fit guy before, but he's sort of taken that to another level, and there just seems to be a focus there that we haven't seen before. In Indian Premier League, he made over 600 runs in not even playing every game of the tournament. He's in incredible form. He's a key ingredient for the Australian side, and they won the last World Cup with him there, and I'm not sure they could have won this one without him.
Not only that, I think the necessity of the fact that the Aussies weren't going too well without him in the side, and then just sheer weight of runs has forced his way back in, and the rest of the team have had to forcibly accept the fact that he's in their best 11.
What you've touched on there, Beefy's probably the biggest conundrum facing the Australian side. They've got an outstanding-looking team on paper, but how do they gel with Warner and Smith back in the team, and how do the players sort of just accept that reality? They seem at this point to have accepted it well because the players playing the last couple of months knew that these two were coming back, and it hasn't affected their form. The reality of actually having them back in the dressing room, clearly there are some awkward issues, bit of awkwardness there. It is an unusual set of circumstances. Team bonding, I suppose, and those kind of combinations and connections, that would appear to be the biggest obstacle facing Australia.
Yeah. The big question is, how will the English fans get stuck into them? And how are they going to react to it is the big question, I guess.
You can take it as a given that the fans will get stuck into them. That's for sure. I imagine there'll be a few hardware shops selling out of sandpaper and things like that. Quite simply, Australia handled abuse from the crowds in South Africa last year terribly. Possibly the biggest contributing factor to what we saw with the brain explosion and the meltdown that was the sandpaper thing. So not being able to deal with those emotions properly, huge effect on everything else. I know that that's been a huge focus with a lot of these meetings that Australia's held over the last couple of months, which have been aimed primarily at sort of reintegrating Smith and Warner back into the setup. A lot of it has focused on how will you deal with abuse from the crowd, personal abuse about your wives or your girlfriends or your family. These are the kinds of things that Australia was exposed to in South Africa and flew off their handle. So it is the mental game off the field is going to be as important as what they're doing on it, basically.
What's with Warner's facial hair?
I don't know, a year in exile living in a cave. We'll see whether that stays for the World Cup itself or whether it's a passing phase. What do you think of it?
He looks like Wolverine.
I suppose there's not much you can do, fashion-wise, when you're wearing long pants and shirt and you're under a helmet, but he's doing his best.
This is the Bucket List Show, so if there's any cricket venue across the world, which one would you pick out to spend a test match in or a one-dayer?
Look, I don't think you can beat the experience of going to a game in India, especially for these games which we've just seen, the IPL and the huge crowds and the excitement. So Eden Gardens in Calcutta is a pretty amazing spot, I would say, from atmosphere and crowd experience. And Cape Town in South Africa, despite the history that it now holds for the Australian team, Table Mountain there and in the background, pretty spectacular.
It is.
Spectacular sight, yeah.
It is absolutely beautiful. Ben, thank you so much for chatting cricket with us this morning.
Oh, pleasure. Thanks very much for having me on.
It's Ben Horne from the Herald Sun on the Bucket List.